The first thing you want to do is you want to navigate to the PBS dashboard. The dashboard will contain your status here. If it says reserve, you want to bid for reserve. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that. If it says line holder here, you're going to be a line holder. So you bid 7 layers as a line holder. If it says reserve here, and you also used the LRD when it was open and toggled to line holder, you could potentially still be a line holder, possibly. So my advice to you would be to bid a double bid. You would want to use your PBS to bid 7 layers as a line and then also 7 layers as a reserve. Today, I'm going to focus just on bidding for reserve and how to best do that. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you're on the correct calendar. You do that by taking a look at this calendar, which is what we call the line holder day off calendar. And then you go up to the top and you want to click on reserve days off. That takes you to the reserve calendar. This is the only calendar you can use to bid your days off. You'll notice the difference. The line holder calendar does not have numbers in the lower right-hand corner. These numbers represent the projected number of reserves that are going to be needed for that day. I'm based in Philadelphia, so this is representative of Philadelphia. Take a look at the numbers. Look how low the numbers are during the 2nd and 3rd week of December. This is December's calendar. Look how they jump the week prior to Christmas. They jump into the 300s. They're projecting a high need of reserves a few days prior to and including Christmas Day. That's important to understand for coverage needed days. We'll talk about that a little later. Let me first start by showing you how to bid for a reserve line. There are many strategies that you can use to bid for a reserve line. You have to have a plan. You have to know what off days you want to have for the month. Okay? If you only want 1 day off, that's one strategy. Just click on that day, put it in layer 1, and be done with it. I'm going to show you today how to construct an entire legal line of 12 off days, complying with the off day requirements and the available day requirements, and then how to enter them. This is how you do it. My suggestion is to start with layer 7. Change the calendar to layer 7. You can do that one of 2 ways. Here in the upper left-hand corner of the calendar, or you can click here on the numbers 1 through 7. Layer 1, layer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The general rule of thumb is you don't want to put more than 2 days in any given layer. I'm going to show you one exception to that, layer 7. The most effective way to bid for reserve, if you know what all 12 days of your days off are going to be, and they collectively together form a legal line, put all 12 in layer 7. Okay? I have a plan. I'm going to use my schedule here to show you how to do that. I have a lead-in trip. I'm bidding as a line holder in November, transitioning to a reserve in December. So I have to take into consideration these 2 days are already on my schedule. Okay, that's what we call transition bidding. More about that in probably another video. Okay, I'll get to that in a second with my schedule. Let's put all 12 of my off days in layer 7. I want a 4-3-3-2 off day pattern. So I'm going to start with December the 6th, December the 7th, December the 8th, December the 9th, and then my 4-day block. My 3-day block is going to start on December the 14th, 15th, 16th, and then my 2-day block is going to be on the 20th, the 21st, Notice how I'm clicking on the dates on the calendar first, and then I'm telling them add bid. You do this by making sure you're in the correct layer first. Okay, so I'm working on layer 7. I'm putting all 12 days in layer 7. So now I still have 3 more days to enter. I'm going to enter the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th. So now all 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days are in layer 7. I'm bidding it this way because I'm being realistic with my seniority. I know I'm going to have to work Christmas. Okay, so what I would like to do is come in Christmas Day, have the 26th off so I can use that day to celebrate the holiday with. Okay, notice the off day pattern and the available day pattern. There are 2 golden rules. Your blocks of off days must be in blocks of no fewer than 2 to no more than 8. Your available days are the days in between your blocked off days, and they can be no fewer than 3 and no more than 6. Transition bidding, you need to take into consideration. I have a trip here. This is a 2-day trip. So what PBS does is it does a 6-day look back into the last 6 days of the previous month to determine what you're legal for during the first few days of the bid month. In my case, both of these days are considered flying days. As a reserve, you cannot fly more than 6 days in a row. So 2 days have already been taken up. The new month, you can have no fewer than 3 days available. So I know that in addition to these 2, that I can have no fewer than 3 days tagged on to these 2 for a total of 5. That's why my first possible off day is the 6th. Notice also, you have to take into consideration flex days and golden days. 4 of your off days will be flex days. 8 of your off days will be golden days. Okay? Flex days are days that the company could potentially fly you into, and then they have to return them to you later on in the month. Okay? This potentially could be a flex day. You have to allow for at least 4. Potentially a flex day here because they could return it later in the month. This potentially could be a flex day because it can be returned to you later in the month. So can this day, and so can this day. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. So now let's enter the bids. All right, now you take a look at all 12 of your days, and you select the 2 days that you absolutely want to have off as your first choice. For me, that's the 26th and the 27th. I know I can't hold the 25th off, but I really would like to try for the 26th. Change your calendar to layer 1. See how I used the 1 here at the top? You could also send it back to layer 7. You could also change it here. Doesn't matter. Either way. So the 26th and 27th are my very first 2 days that I want as my first choice. So now they're in layer 1. So now I go back to layer 7 and I select 2 more days as my second choice. Okay, so let's take a look at layer 7. I'd be kind of nice to have all 3 of these days. So I'm going to put the 28th in as the second choice, and then I'm just going to start my block of off days at the beginning of the month. So I'm going to put the 28th and then the 6th in layer 2. So change the calendar. I'll do it this way to show you. Change the calendar to layer 2, and I'm going to put the 6th and the 28th. Now I go back to layer 7, and I'm just going to work my way through the remainder of the calendar with 2 days in each layer, starting with the 7th. Layer 3, 7, 8. Layer 4 will be 9 and 14. And then 15 and 16 for layer 5. And then layer 6 are going to be the 20th and the 21st. That's all that's remaining. So put those in the layer 6. So now, effectively, what you have done is you've prioritized all 12 of your most desired schedule throughout all 7 layers. Layer 1 has your first choice off days, layer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, down to your completed line in layer 7. PBS, when it processes, it takes a look at all of the possible patterns available to you at your seniority, and it selects the patterns that have, it tries to pull out the patterns that have both of these days off in layer 1. It holds on to those patterns and then moves to layer 2 and uses the patterns that it saved from layer 1, and it adds the 6th and 28th to the patterns remaining in layer 2. Whatever patterns are remaining in layer 2, it takes those to layer 3, and it does the same thing. So now you have your 4 days off from layers 1 and 2, and it tries to look for patterns that include those 4 days as well as the 7th and the 8th. And it just continues that way through the remainder of the layers. That is the most effective way that I have been using, that I have been teaching, that I've heard from other flight attendants that are most successful with building their reserve lines for the next month. Thank you.